What's going on, guys? Kaiser here, and today I'll be showing you all of the tools that I use in my camera bag to shoot photography and video. With that said, let's get to it. Alright, so the bag that I use is the Lowepro Tahoe BP 150. Now, in comparison to some other camera bags, this is actually fairly small, which is pretty much the look that I was going for. Now, I know with a larger camera bag you can fit a lot more stuff in it, but I personally like the lighter, more compact look. And considering the size of this bag, you can actually fit a decent amount of stuff in it. Now, I don't always carry a field monitor with me, but for those times that I do, I simply clip it to the side of my bag. Now, this bag doesn't come with the Lowepro. It actually comes with this 5.5-inch FieldWorld MA6P monitor. Now, this is a pretty solid monitor. It has all of the features that I typically use, like focus peaking, false color, grid, and pretty much all of the standard stuff. I actually did a review of this monitor, so I'll leave an annotation so you guys can check that out. Now, as compact as this bag is, believe it or not, a lot of times I break this down even further with this Empower waterproof pouch. I kind of refer to it as my survival kit. So basically, if I'm out and I determine that I don't need everything in my bag, I'll grab my camera, my tripod, and throw this pouch around my neck and leave everything else behind. Now, inside here are the absolute minimum tools that I'll need. I have some SD and micro SD cards, a charger for my phone. Now, aside from this being compact, I like this one because it has a lightning cable attached, a battery for my camera, and my white balance cards by Velo. Inside this section is where I keep my action camera mount. Now, I do have a couple of smaller ones, but I like this one because it has 3 points of contact. It also has another part that screws on top, and this gives me more flexibility with more articulating parts. It's actually intended for the DJI Osmo. Although I wouldn't recommend doing this, this mount is so strong that I used it once to mount my DSLR inside my car. Also inside here I have my Joby Gorilla Pod. Now, I don't do any vlogging, but I do use this to get some low ground shots. Next, I have my absolute must-have camera accessories, my ND filters. Now, if you're shooting on a bright day and or you want to shoot a shallow depth of field and you need to adhere to the 180-degree rule, the ND filters are a must-have, because without them, you'll either have overexposed or jumpy footage. Now, personally, I prefer Tiffin filters because of the quality of glass and the minimum color shift. These are my Tiffin filters for my Osmo Action. They come in a set of 3, ND4, 8, and 16. Now, you want to be careful when using ND filters on action cameras because some of these cameras rely on increased shutter speed in order to get steady footage, and that's the case with the Osmo Action. So this first shot is the Osmo Action in manual mode, 4K 24 frames per second. Here I adjusted the shutter speed to adhere to the 180-degree rule, so my shutter speed is 1/50th of a second, and you can see here the footage is really overexposed and the stabilization isn't very good. In this next shot, I kept all of my settings the same, 4K at 24 frames per second with a 1/50th shutter speed, except here I attached the ND filter. Now, this fixed the exposure problem, but the stabilization is still not very good. Now, in this last shot, I set the settings to auto, so in order to expose properly, the camera had to increase the shutter speed. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is that the camera is doing a better job stabilizing the image. So basically, there's a minimum shutter speed that this camera has to be set to in order to achieve desirable stabilization. And based on the information that I found, it's around 1/400th of a second. So that leaves literally no chance of sticking to the 180-degree rule. Now, you may or may not be able to see how such a high shutter speed affects the footage here, but if you look at this next shot, you can see how some parts of the footage is kind of jumpy, and that's basically the results of having too high of a shutter speed. Now, for me personally, I only use action cameras for mount them to my car, so using the ND filter and adhering to the 180-degree rule works perfectly fine. However, if you use it for other things, then you definitely want to be aware. Also in here, I have PGY Tech filters for my Mavic 2 Pro and a Tiffin variable ND filter for my camera. Now, the cool thing about these variable ND filters is that you only need one. You can control the amount of light that it lets in simply by rotating it. Definitely an invaluable accessory. This is how the inside of the bag looks. Now, you can configure these Velcro cushions inside to fit your gear. Inside here, I have my Mavic 2 Pro controller with a PGY Tech control stick protector. Now, this protector prevents the sticks from being pushed around while in the bag, and it also protects the screen. I also keep spare props in here and the Mavic 2 Pro. Now, in order to prevent the props from flailing all over the place and to prevent them from being damaged, I use these PGY Tech prop holders. Inside the zipper section, I have my camera cleaning kit, a bag of miscellaneous tools, screwdrivers, lights, etc., a bag of batteries for my camera, monitor, and drone, another charger, some mounting accessories for my Osmo Action, and my DJI Osmo Action camera. I picked this case up on Amazon. It's made by Beyond Cases. Now, like I said earlier, when it comes to action cameras, I really only use them for mounting on my car or bike in order to get some different perspectives. Now, the one thing that I can't fit inside my camera bag when I have my drone in it is my 70-200 2.8 Nikkor lens. Now, this is kind of a bittersweet situation because this thing is massive and pretty heavy, so it definitely takes a load off when it's not in there. However, the bitter part is, although this is not my most used lens, it's definitely my favorite, and that's because of the way it obliterates the background. This is the 70-200 at 70mm with an aperture of 3.5. Now watch what happens to the background when I zoom all the way in. Now this is why I love this lens. The way it compresses the background is insane. I use this lens mostly when the background is a bit busy and I want to isolate my subject. Definitely my favorite lens. Now the camera and lens combo that I use daily is the Nikon D850 with a 24-70 2.8 Nikkor lens. Now I know for most this isn't the ideal camera for video due to the subpar autofocus and image stabilization. But for me, since I always shoot on a tripod and I never use autofocus, it works perfectly fine. The thing that really keeps me around is the build, the dynamic range, the highlight roll off, and the image quality. 1080p at 120 frames per second on this camera is some of the cleanest slow motion that I've seen. But anyway, that's a look at what's in my camera bag. I'll leave links in the description just in case you guys want to check any of this stuff out. So until next time, peace.